Hi, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the CertiK Security Leaderboard Showcase. I'm your host, Aaron Leibowitz, and as you all know well by now, in this showcase, I host a guest for a live AMA where we discuss their work with CertiK, the Security Leaderboard, and throw in some live questions from you, the viewers. Our goal is to raise the standards of security in the DeFi ecosystem. The Security Leaderboard, found at CertiK.com, is a free tool to help you DYOR. Today, I'll be joined by the team behind GM. They're contributing $500 worth of ETH for today's top live questions. Make sure to read the rules on the Twitter post at CertiK.org in order to qualify for rewards. And if you're dropping in live questions in the chat, please include a Twitter or Telegram handle. So a big thank you to the GM team. Let's go ahead and take a look at their CertiK.com leaderboard listing. This is the landing page at CertiK.com. Scrolling down, you'll see plenty of projects you recognize. Now let's go over to the GM page. At the top here, you'll see some market data, key statistics, the full audit report, then the Skynet primitives. If you missed this live stream earlier this week, I had a member of our product team on to discuss Skynet itself and all the different primitives, the liquidity, the distribution analysis, and sort of how to read everything on there. Make sure to go ahead and take a look at that. Now let's welcome on today's guests. Dan, Max, and Liv. Great to have you guys on here. How are you doing?
It's great to be here.
Great. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you, guys. Let's go ahead and start with a little intro from each of you, your role on the team, your background, and an overview of GM itself.
Yeah, I can start off. My name's Olivia, and thank you for having us here. We're excited. So I'm one of the co-founders of GM. I launched the contracts for GM, and I work alongside other team members, Dan and Max. I've been in the crypto space for approximately 4 to 5 years now. And I'm also a nursing student, but I took off the year for actually pursuing crypto and working on the GM project. So yeah.
That's awesome. Well, congrats on that. It's a great decision, in my opinion.
I can hop in next before Dan. I'm Max, otherwise known as @Scruffer on Twitter. I'm a graduate from Keenan Flagler Business School over here in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Stems from UNC. Many of you know Go Heels. I've been in crypto for about 11 years now, ever since back in 2010, actually, when I was 14 years old, and done a lot of different things stemming all the way back to Bitcoin days, coming into Ethereum and Link in 2017. And I'm well known as being an advisor in the space, and that's what I'm doing for GM. I'm actually taking on the role of lead advisor for what they do, and I handle a lot of operations, marketing, as well as building tokenomic models, and I do this for GM as well as a few other projects non-publicly.
Wow, rare to have somebody from 2010. I thought I was early at 2013, but that is quite the time to have started. Last but not least, Dan, you want to give us an intro?
Yeah, so I'm Dan. I'm a co-founder. My role is more aligned with legal and tech. I'm making sure everything is going smoothly for first merge drop, and I'm also making sure, kind of like the CTO side of things, where I'm making sure everything is going well on the innovation side of things, exploring, new product development here at GM, and making sure that everything is going smoothly and that the team is focused on moving forward and innovating. That's basically my role right now.
Got it. Excellent. Well, thank you guys for that. Who wants to give a quick interview on GM as a whole? Sorry, overview.
Liv, maybe you want to start?
Yeah, I didn't want to cut anyone off. Yeah, so GM was started really based off the hype of the saying or phrase GM in NFT communities, and it quickly sparked a lot of steam just in crypto in general on crypto Twitter. So we saw that it was something that really started a cultural movement in crypto itself. So we saw an opportunity because it was really interesting to see the amount of people that came together in crypto to create sort of a cultural movement token, which is how we like to coin our token right now. We're looking to aim GM to be this sort of the gold standard for cultural movement cryptos, and something that basically all of us have in common being in the crypto space, and basically building off of the values that we have in crypto, and making sure that we're supporting communities Yeah, and so we hope to build a DAO so that we can make sure that this is a true community token, that the true community has say in what we do. Yeah, so I don't know if that's enough.
I can
Yeah, that's awesome. That was great.
I can add some on top of that because I feel like there is an aspect outside of the token utility that kind of encompasses what the brand of GM actually is. And, we focus a lot on corporations or, traditional finance corporations. Then on the crypto side, it's basically like the token is the encompassing investment for what businesses are doing. And I think GM's a little bit different in that aspect. We didn't do a capital raise or anything. It's a completely fair launch right off the bat. And you're looking at something that what Liv said is completely community owned, and the funds that were raised from the initial taxes on the ETH side are going towards building a cultural brand, almost like a lifestyle brand. And the token is just one part of this. So we're going to have many different aspects to build kind of a multifaceted organization that isn't just associated just to a token, but rather a bunch of different revenue creating opportunities. And the token is just one aspect of that. So to think of the token as like the start, building what a community is versus, a company like PNG launching Tide, you have a huge brand loyalty around PNG. Rather, the brand loyalty is generated first off of just the generated token, and then you build all the revenue creating opportunities based on that. So it's kind of like you're flipping the traditional route on its head and creating something that is almost like an experiment, but is brand new and creating a worldwide brand in the infancy days.
Got it. Awesome. I think that actually provides a great overview and a little bit of a segue into my first question here. So if I'm correct, you guys have a reflection-based sort of tokenomic setup. You gained a ton of traction super quickly. Really impressive. Great launch from you guys. And I think the fair launch had a lot to do with that. It really is a more inclusive style of launching a token. But you touched on it being a cultural movement token. That's a new to me, at least, phrase. Can you dive in a little bit to what you mean by that? What does a cultural movement mean? How does the token play into that? And sort of who you're looking to help or serve there.
Yeah, so the first part of your question, you did say that there was a reflection. So we don't have reflections at this time. So we did have an initial tax on the ETH token when we launched it, which has been turned off. We did plan on turning it like the taxes down, but we turned it down a little faster than anticipated. So we don't have reflections at this time, but we did initially, and we gained a lot of traction for sure since we basically were spoken about by everybody on crypto Twitter within a few days. So it was very humbling to see. And yeah, so a cultural movement, essentially it's something that I guess we can bring about change, and we really want to preserve our values and the values of what GM is, and meaning more than just good morning, and that it has an underlying meaning of that. When you say it to somebody, that when you say GM, you're not just saying good morning to somebody, you're saying something like it's a greeting really to people who are in crypto. And that's something that we really want to emphasize. So it is big in the NFT community. So we really do want to pay homage to that by potentially going into the metaverse is something that we really are observing and weighing out the pros and cons of that. So we're trying to find some good, strong partners, strategic partners to go into the metaverse with. So that's just one way of how we want to serve to those communities, the NFT communities. But yeah, and we also really want to touch on the charity aspect of GM, and that it does serve a very positive message in spreading happiness to other people, because it is a positive greeting. So we want to make sure that when we say good morning to people, and it does mean crypto, but it means that you're wishing them well. And we really do want to continue to emphasize that. So we do hope in the future to set up a DAO and a charity fund. So when we do have revenues coming in, as Max stated, we're going to have plenty of revenue drivers. Part of that will go back into donating it to communities that are more in need, and whether that be in the crypto community or that be people outside of it. that's to be discussed. But yeah.
Got it. And will the DAO actually vote on which charities you support, how the money is used? That's fantastic. That's really nice to see.
Yeah.
Excellent. Speaking a little more on charity, how are you vetting the charities? Fraud and misuse of funds in charities today is a huge issue, and I've actually spoken about it on here before with another charity token. So what is your process for vetting, onboarding new charities, making sure those funds are really being used for good?
Yeah.
Liv, I'll hop into this. You can hop on right after. I think so. This really is a huge thing worldwide as well. I mean, even outside of crypto, you have charities that are basically handling funds in a non-transparent way, and blockchain does aim to solve this. We have a few things in the pipeline to basically fix how charitable aspects get done on a entire enterprise level. We're talking like charity to charity outside of the GM brand that we can't discuss fully just because of the way the idea is formatted. We don't want people taking it because it really could be a huge multi-billion-dollar idea if executed properly. Now, on the GM side of vetting, we actually have a team that is associated with this who sit on board. They don't do much at the moment other than kind of just looking through the charitable aspects. And the idea of this team later on is when we do have the DAO and people presenting, however we do it with like maybe top 5 charities and then voting it down, basically the top 5 charities that would be able to be voted on, the team would successfully go through all of these, vet them individually, use their resources at their disposal, make sure that every charity that is being voted on by the DAO is something that is legitimate, is not an accusatory for mishandling or misusing funds, and has never basically been through that process of being accused or have any information on doing that. So we're trying to keep this very, very strict in the way that we handle things. We obviously don't want the GM brand being associated to any charities that maybe do handle funds in a fraudulent way. And that's something very important to us, and that's why we have the team at the disposal ready for this. Liv, anything you want to add on to that?
No, you explained that in a great way. I was going to say when we did vet all the charities that we currently have worked with, we have made sure that we vetted them properly, and we've worked with all very recognizable organizations. For example, like the Red Cross, Americans Foundation for Suicide Prevention, the World Food Program, UN Refugee Agency. So we're making sure that everything is a legitimate charity that we're working with, because we don't want to fall into any fraud. So we have been very careful with that in vetting them and making sure that they are legitimate organizations.
That's excellent to hear. I know there are a few non-for-profits actually working in the charity transparency space today, and I believe even one of them has a public audit history of their findings. Some interesting things to look at, and it sounds like you guys are doing a good job as is, so that's really great to hear. I want to dive into the DAO a little bit more here. I know it's not live yet. It's still being planned or built. Not sure what stage it's at yet. But in your idea of the future of GM and a really community-owned project, will there be any parts, for example, ownership of the marketing wallet or other things like that that aren't controlled by the DAO?
Yeah, so we're working into the structure of that currently because our token gains so much attention very fast. We are working on that structure right now. We're making sure we go over it with our lawyers and accountants to make sure that this is all set up properly, that we're not putting too much funds in one aspect. But yeah, exactly. So we will have some funds set up, say, for marketing, and we don't need the DAO to basically vote on whether or not we're going to pay for a banner on a website. That would be kind of silly. So we will have certain funds that are divvied up that are all multi-sigged with a group of people that are designated for each fund. The DAO would be controlling more so of the charity aspect and development aspect. So if there are things in development that we are interested in doing, we want to make sure that that's in line with what the community also wants. So that's something that they would be voting on, which would be also a large part of the fund, but that's something more feasible for them to be voting on versus voting for a banner on a website.
Yep, that definitely makes sense to me. And in terms of what they will be voting on, let's say it's building your own swap or other features, who then goes ahead and actually builds that? Is that your team who would be tasked with building that at that point? Or you guys, I should say, the 2 or 3 of you on here who are devs?
Yes.
We do have a team of developers that can handle functions like this, but we're a big part of outsourcing a lot of this stuff as well. I feel like with the community token, you want to have community aspects that are handled by different people rather than just your set team of developers, because then it kind of gives it, rather than just the team kind of generating what GM is, it's the community putting in different aspects of work to develop. This is GM as the community views it. Obviously, we do have our team of developers that can be handling different aspects, but we really want this to be something that, if a community is a really good developer and has proof of work, then why wouldn't we want to provide them cost for their labor and see if they can develop something great, especially coming straight from the GM community. Obviously, there's different ways that we can handle this, but we really want to make the main focus is, the community is doing different things. The community has different strengths. If you are of a certain strength and you want to help, then we are welcome in open arms.
Yeah, and I want to say we have been working with a few community members already. We've had GM Gems, which was made by a community member, so we're kind of getting into that right now of letting community members, give us their ideas and kind of explore options and let them help us out in any way they can.
I'd love to hear that. Getting community involvement not only encourages the community members to stay involved for longer term in the project, but really demonstrates from the team that you guys are not owners, you might be founders, but it's a community project that really does encourage everyone to participate and have stake in the project. Speaking of stake, a live question here is, are there staking options available for GM for the token?
Currently, there are not any options from us, but I have heard from some community members that our BSC token is being staked on multiple sites on Binance Smart Chain. I haven't looked into them myself, so I don't know how legitimate they are, so don't go connecting your wallet eagerly. But yeah, so not from us, but other projects are currently offering staking on their websites.
Got it. That makes sense. I'm sure you can find some liquidity pools to add into as well if you're looking there.
Yeah.
So on the roadmap, you guys do have a DEX coming down the line. One of the things I noticed in the white paper was it said if approved. So that is those are the types of choices that you're going to leave up to the DAO. Is that correct?
So that more falls on the legal aspect as well. So we, unlike a lot of projects, we're hitting an important milestone in the space where everything's kind of coming down to strict regulation as far as Singapore, US, China. There's a bunch of major regulators that in order for projects to survive, they really have to meet these regulations in full force. So we are working with one of the top law firms in crypto and trying to make sure that everything we do as in incorporating, building, and developing, and what we release as far as tokenized products or anything of that nature, it meets those regulatory requirements as they move, as it's a very fluid situation and as approved by the law firm that we're working with. So not only do we have to make sure that the law firm approves of certain ideas, but then we'll make sure that it goes through the DAO as well. So it is tough to develop a roadmap and a white paper of ideas that we want to do, since it is kind of community oriented. But these are the ideas that we had in mind. And obviously, as we move forward, there'll be white paper V2 and V3 as the community and the law firm start to approve different things for what the future of GM and what the future of GM holds.
Got it. That certainly makes sense to me. I think sticking within regulatory boundaries is a absolute must for longevity of the project. All right, I want to launch into a little bit of a rapid fire of live questions here, as we have a bunch backing up as we've been going through my questions for you guys. I'm going to ask questions and ask for like a 1 or 2 sentence quick answer. So 50% of the total token supply was burnt on launch. Will there be more buyback and burn features in the future?
That's a good question. So currently we do have a BSC token, which does have a tax. The tax is there for many reasons, but one of them is possibly for buying back tokens. We're not sure if they would be burnt per se, because we do have an ongoing burn mechanism on Ethereum right now. but they possibly will be used for buying back for the tokens to have use in the future.
Got it. Awesome. All right, moving on. You guys launched on ETH and talked about interoperability, cross-chain moves moving forward. It sounds like you're already on BSC, if I'm correct. You have a BSC bridge, correct?
Yes.
Are we going to see you on other chains such as, any L2s like Matic or Cardano or Solana or Polkadot? Where can we expect to see you guys moving next?
So we're discussing different opportunities of layer 1s or layer 2s that we could possibly integrate with. At the moment, there is no set one. We're kind of just leaving it up to what the community wants. Obviously, BSC was big in popularity. So, maybe Kronos or AVAX or Solana might be next as far as popularity and volume goes.
Awesome. All right, continuing down the list here. We have quite a few live questions today. Do you guys have any plans to include auto compounding or yield features in the future?
Max, you want to answer this one?
Yeah. I have to hide behind the legal blanket here. It's up to the regulation and the fluidity in motion and what the law firm says we can and can't do. We would love to, in all honesty with you. I honestly love integrating DeFi, especially with GM. I feel like it would be very, very positive and beneficial for the community, but we have to leave it up to what the regulation says we can or can't do.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I can't really blame you for hiding behind that one. Right now, governance in the project before the DAO is built, how is it structured? Whether it's holding contract keys or anything else like that really falls under general governance and security of the project. For example, one of the issues in the audit was surrounding centralization privilege of, I forget which of the contracts it was. I have to look back for that. And you said you plan to move into a multi-sig ownership of that contract. Has that happened yet?
Yeah, we have multi-sig both the contract and we have multi-sig the marketing wallet. So going forward, this will all continue to be multi-sigged to protect the community and from any malicious actors. Yeah.
Awesome. Love to hear that. Always happy to see security recommendations being done, being updated, even after the audit's rolled out. And actually going back to something we were talking about before with new features coming down the line, such as a DEX. What are your plans regarding security around that? Will you have that audited?
Yeah, I mean, as we move forward and have more smart contracts and different technological innovations as on the blockchain side, we'll obviously want to have everything audited as time progresses, especially with something like a DEX or maybe a DEX tools operation, anything that enables users to either input or output funds or has anything to do with funds. We'll obviously want that audited and up to the fully maximum or full maximum security.
Absolutely. What are you guys' plans regarding NFTs? Can you tell us anything that might be coming down the line or something that is live that I've missed?
Yeah, so we have done some partnerships with members in the community who are NFT artists. So one of the drops, GM Gems, was for free for 200 of our holders. We did do another partnership with Pixel Lord. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he actually does GM themed NFTs. So he made one dedicated with us and sold, I believe it was roughly 80 of them. And the money that we generated is going 100% back to charity. So it's for a great cause as well, as promoting the NFT community. Going forward, we really would love to have a larger sized NFT drop. We still are working on the details around that because we really would like to enter the metaverse. So we want to make sure that everything is metaverse capable.
Fantastic. Moving back to security a little bit here. Can you tell us why you chose CertiK and why you chose to implement Skynet beyond just the audit itself?
Anyone, Max, or you want me to take
Yeah,
the
so
reins?
basically CertiK is one of the highest rated, audit firms, and we really wanted to go with the best. And then we really wanted to implement Skynet because we wanted to have, all the best features and everything that you guys offer at the highest level so that, our community could really see what we're doing and see that we are going with the best company possible.
Fantastic. We definitely appreciate that. And we always appreciate showing the community more about what Skynet can really do for them. At the beginning, they saw me scroll through the features pretty quickly, but I did mention there was an AMA earlier this week between myself and one of our product team members, really describing how to dive in and use those Skynet metrics. There's a lot of rich data there for not just project owners, but the retail community as well. I'm personally a big fan of using that for my research. So another issue that we saw in the audit that was acknowledged was the ability to take back ownership of a contract, even if the renounce ownership function had been called. Obviously, since the contract is live, this can't be changed right now, but careful management of the contract keys is going to be necessary moving forward. Can you speak a little bit further about what your plans are regarding this? I know you mentioned multi-sig. Is there a time lock you're going to implement as well, or what are we looking at there?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we never really had plans to renounce the contract at any time when we deployed it, just in case there was any need for changes if it did arise. We figured that it would be best to be locking the contract for when we don't need to make any changes. And if there is anything major that needs to be made, it would need to be approved by the community. We have been overly transparent with our community by telling them every movement that we really make, because we want to make sure they're fully informed. But yeah, so we will likely put on we have time locked it already. That has unlocked because we needed to set up the Binance Smart Chain bridge. But we likely will put on longer time locks. So say for 6 months at a time. Once that comes up, if there is something that needs to happen at that 6-month period, then we will allow that to happen. If not, we'll continue the time lock so that the community is fully 100% aware of when it happens. Again, the contract is multi-sigged right now, so it prevents from any bad actors making any drastic changes to the contract that aren't needed. So that's another way. And we did take all of this into consideration that CertiK let us know basically for centralization risks. So when we did create our BSC contract, we took all of this into account and that we added a time lock function directly into the contract. And I don't think this has ever actually been done before on any contracts. So what our contract actually holds is that there is a 6-hour window where if you are calling or requesting a function to change something on the contract, say it's the amount of tax or the swap and liquefy function, there is a 6-hour window before you can actually implement that change. So you can call to request it. So it basically alerts the community if there is a change being made on the BSC side. And there's a 6-hour window until we can actually press and to call and write that change on the contract. So that was something that we took into consideration that CertiK told us, and we heard exactly, and we totally understood that, okay, let's try and make this better for BSC. So thank you guys.
Of course, that's what we're here to do. We're always looking to help everyone increase security. It makes the whole ecosystem better for all of us. So many new projects have a strong start and then sort of taper off. What's your plan to continue maintaining the momentum and even increasing it moving forward?
Yeah, so momentum is really tough, especially in a changing crypto market, and macroeconomic view is a little bit dismal right now as we move into the start of 2022 and economic concerns and inflation kind of running wild after COVID. And how that kind of speaks to what GM is doing is you start to get into an area of lower cash flows for projects, and a lot of projects that don't have cash on hand stop building and then eventually die out and fizzle out. So I think the main focus is, it's really hard to make a momentum of a project other than just continually building and adding new features. Obviously the main goal is to continue building the community and releasing new features that make people outside of crypto maybe come in and find what GM is actually doing and appeal to what the brand is doing. Obviously, right now the target market is inside crypto. We're trying to do things to appeal to the crypto community and then branch out from there. So I think the answer to your question is there's a lot of things in the pipeline that we're looking at that we've released on different AMAs that we do twice a week. We're looking into something called the GM Club, which is very similar to what Platinum Amex does, where if you have a Platinum Amex, you get exclusive access to certain either upgrades for hotels or access to platinum lounges, whether it's in airports or sports stadiums or something similar. So we're hoping to do something very similar to that with some sort of lockup with GM. So it adds into the short-term utility of what GM is actually doing. But momentum going forward is just continue building, get the metaverse hopped in, more white paper iterations, get the community interested and continue building on what they want to see. And obviously we have funds from the initial taxes that we consider a capital raise. And those are being used sparingly to build the vision, but also to make sure that we have funds allocated for a period of lower volume where revenue might be a little bit lesser comparatively to what it was at the start. So I think using that and building on the longevity, making sure we're meeting the regulation, making sure we have funds, making sure that we're creating more revenue bearing opportunities will make sure this project has longevity to continue to have momentum, not just 3 months from now, but 1 to 2 to 5 to 10 years from now.
Awesome. I think that is a great answer to a difficult question. So guys, that does bring us to the end of our time here. I want to get in one last question, which is where can the community follow the growth and continuation of your project? Where should they be on the lookout for you?
Yeah, so we have a lot of social media platforms. You can follow us on Twitter. You can follow us on our Telegram, which is very exciting and fast paced. You can follow us on TikTok, which we have set up, and on our Medium articles and on our Twitter spaces, which we have, like Max mentioned, we have 2 AMAs every week on Wednesdays and Sunday afternoons. So lots of places to follow us and keep up with any new information that we put out.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you guys so much for joining today. It was a great conversation, and I'm looking forward to keeping up with the project moving forward.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.